Let's get in touch now with reporter Natasha Phiri, whom I understand has been following that motor event. She joins us now to give us the latest. A very good afternoon to you, Natasha. So talk to us about where you are at this stage in terms of course, taking back the mortal remains of the DP to that guard of honor in his hometown of Barberton.
Well, thank you so much, Alicia. We are actually outside now. We've just arrived outside, his house. Of course, we're actually tracking, his body, taking the body and escorting the body from the B3 services here to the family outside of the late former Deputy President David Mabuza. We must apologize to our viewers. As you know, sometimes we do use technology and sometimes it does fail us, Alicia. But earlier on, there were some visuals that actually came, through from our camera that showed the Guard of Honor that was actually organized by members of the Youth League as well as, the ANC on the R37 from Barberton coming into, his homestead. Of course, there will be a church service later on where neighbors, close friends, those from his political home, and most importantly, his family will be conducting a church service later on for those just to say their final goodbyes before he is laid to rest, tomorrow. And just to remind our viewers, Alicia, the funeral service will be taking place tomorrow at 9 a.m. And of course, the funeral service will be held at the Hoërskool Bechem in Mpumalanga. Roads will be temporarily closed, especially those roads coming in from Barberton to here to Mpumalanga as early as 7:30 in the morning, Alicia. I beg your pardon, excuse me. The certain roads that will be closed include the R40, the R38, the N4, and the R30. And of course, when we asked GCIS, Mr. William Baloyi, he had indicated, that like you've indicated there in your introduction, that several dignitaries will be attending the funeral, not only those from home, from South Africa, but of course, we heard earlier on this week, the family saying that a Russian delegation will be attending the funeral and the send-off, as well as the Deputy Prime Minister of Eswatini, just some of those who will be attending the funeral service. Of course, government expects over 3,000 mourners to actually be present tomorrow, as we know that the late former Deputy President will be honored with a state funeral category 2. And of course, this funeral is afforded to former Deputy Presidents, 2 Deputy Presidents, to acting or former Deputy Presidents. And of course, this funeral will be prescribed full military ceremonial honors. We know that the country is actually in mourning, and therefore flags are actually flown at half-mast, Alicia. But of course, we've been speaking to several, those from his political home, those outside his political home, those who have been working with him in government, leaders like your Musi Maimanis, who recall how, yes, the late former Deputy President David Mabuza was a quiet man, but very attentive, a person who would actually get down to business. Some have described him and have remembered him as an advocate of land reform, others of education, Alicia, others within the traditional leadership, especially here in Mpumalanga, had said that he had restored the traditional leadership, of traditional leaders here and throughout the country. And, testament to that, I'm reminded of, the January 8th that actually took place in Polokwane under COVID-19, where traditional leaders were not happy with the ANC, at that time in 2022. And of course, it called on, the Deputy President Mabuza to actually speak to him. And of course, he addressed them. And from then on, it seems as if there was a strengthened relationship between traditional leadership across the country and, the Deputy President. Others had called him a champion of SANEC. Remember, he had shared that as virtue of him being the Deputy President, he was also the leader of government business. So a lot was said about him, a lot was said about his legacy. Those who knew him personally saying that he was a father figure. They also described, yes, the good and the bad times as well. As you know that, he had at some point clashed with the SACP here in the province of Mpumalanga around 2015. But judging by what the speakers and the representatives of the South African Communist Party had to say yesterday, there was no love lost with Mr. Mabuza. Yes, there was the good and the bad, but they would come together and, solve things and solve relations amicably. Others have lauded him and others have said he's Mr. Unity. But, I just also want to take you back to a time, Alicia, in a clip that has been doing the rounds ever since his passing, where he was addressing ANC delegates and ANC members, basically saying that whatever faction he was a part of at that time, whatever slate he would support would always win. But he then realized that there was entrenched, factionalism and the demon of factionalism within the ANC, also conceding that he was part of the problem. And now he had realized that, this had caused a problem within the ANC. And this is something that they would actually want to deal with. Yesterday, his brother, Dumseni Mabuza, had said that Mr. Unity is no more, but the ANC needs to unite. And this is in the context of the alliance partner, the SACP, vowing and saying that they will now go to the elections alone. Of course, they still need to discuss these modalities with the mother body, the ANC. But of course, we saw Sanko in the province of Mpumalanga yesterday saying that in the legacy of Didi Mabuza and in memory of him, they will then support the ANC at the polls. And they hope that this is the same, for the SACP, hoping that the SACP will then in turn perhaps change their minds, on this. So these are just some of the sentiments, that have been, raised by some very hurt that he has left them, but promising to live out his legacy, that of quality education, that of land reform within the province of Mpumalanga. Alicia.
I mean, Natasha, talk to us about the fact that I suppose we were expecting the ANC president to come in his capacity as the ANC president sometime this week to actually come and just meet and engage with the family of the late former statesman. But now we understand he will be, of course, delivering the official eulogy tomorrow. But Natasha, let's park it there for a moment, because I understand Samgele Maseko is now joining us live, as of course we still continue monitoring those developments as the mortal remains of the late former statesman are to be received by a guard of honor. Samgele, a very good afternoon to you. What are you seeing in terms of where you are situated at this point?
Well, the remains of former Deputy President David Mabuza have arrived here at his family home in Barberton. The Secretary General of the African National Congress, alongside NEC members Donald Selamlela, Mzwandile Masina, Mahlengu Pengu Mutsiri, who's also the spokesperson of the ANC, were waiting outside this particular entrance of the family home as he entered his premises for the very last time, where he will ultimately then tomorrow be ushered from his residence here in Barberton and be taken to Mbombela, where a service will be held in his particular memory. This is a home, a farm that many ANC members over the years have come and accustomed to go and get political counsel from the Deputy President of the African National Congress and former provincial chair of the ANC here in the province of Mpumalanga, who served 3 terms as a provincial chair. He's got a history that is very much contested, good and bad. Those who are known of David Mabuza over the course of the years will say that those good deeds that he did over the years, they are the ones that surpass the negatives that may have characterized his political career over the course of the years in Mpumalanga. You did listen to the national chairperson of the ANC, Natasha, who did have an engagement with David Mabuza about 4 weeks ago. As you can see, these ANC members chanting slogans as their former deputy president, their former provincial chairperson of this province. His remains arrived here at home earlier on. Our colleague Tumelo Muchako did engage with his longtime friend and ally Robert Gumete, a businessman who hails from this particular province of Mpumalanga, who helped build the ANC infrastructure with David Mabuza, build the provincial office, build the ANC's logistics capacity when it came to the ANC's elections machinery. The campaign vans that you see that are housed here within this particular farmhouse of David Mabuza, he purchased those vehicles with the assistance of Robert Gumete, who is his longtime ally, his longtime friend, who was here at the family home. He came back from an overseas engagement to be with the family. We also do know that the president of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, has afforded former Deputy President David Mabuza a state funeral category 2. Hence you see the SANDF all over this particular precinct that is now under their command, their guard, that will effectively lead to the final burial of the former Deputy President of South Africa. As you can see, more ANC volunteers and members arriving with these particular buses coming to drop them off here at the homestead. We do know that there will be a service that will begin later on this afternoon. It was meant to start at about 3 o'clock. It will ultimately be pushed back by about an hour or so. It will be inside the premises. That will ultimately signal the arrival of the remains of the former Deputy President, where a service will be held, a prayer service, welcoming him home, welcoming him to his residence, to his home. Earlier on did see as well him being ushered in. The hearse did have what we call in isiZulu ihlahla behind it, bringing the mortal remains, the spirit of David Mabuza, back with them from the mortuary, from his Bryanston residence, and here into the Barberton residence. That will ultimately signal that he is back home, and he will ultimately be laid to rest here in Barberton tomorrow.